Almost everyone has felt self-doubt, inadequacy, and negative self-talk in their head. I know I have. Being cut from your favorite sport, being compared to kids with straight A's. They're always seen to be people that are perfect in every way. And this may take a toll on how you perceive yourself. You guys all have a syndrome. And today, I'm here to talk about that and to also, give you a rundown on how it works. So I did more research on what this was, and it actually has a name. It's called imposter syndrome. Raise your hand right now if any of you guys have heard of that term. Right. You guys just proved my point on how not really many people know about this. So when I did this quick Google search, this definition came up. A psychological occurrence in which a person doubts their skills, talents, or accomplishments and have a persistent internalized feeling of being exposed as frauds. This idea of fraudulence and an unwarranted sense of insecurity is incredibly common among people and is the backbone of imposter syndrome. But this thing is actually really prevalent among underrepresented groups, women and people of color. The truth behind imposter syndrome. There are three main things I want to talk about today. Number one, who is most impacted by imposter syndrome? Number two, why and what are the causes of that? And three, its importance. So when researching this imposter syndrome, these psychologists named Susanna Eanes and Pauline Rose Clance actually came up with it in the 1970s. And their definition, what caught my attention the most was how it specifically stated that it was prevalent among high-achieving women. This study was done over 50 years ago, yet not much has really changed since then. Why is that? Because these imposter syndrome feelings lead to things such as self-sabotage of your own success and feeling disappointed when you fall short of your goals. And there may be people saying, oh, yeah, that's not true, imposter syndrome is fake, but that's not the case. As studies have shown that every 7 in 10 adults have experienced imposter syndrome at some point. So that means you guys, the audience, for every 10 of you, 7 of you guys have had these feelings before. I'm Filipino American. It's my heritage. And this is my mom. She's really loving and kind and has done so much for me and my family. And she has been in cases, she works in compensation, and she has been in cases where companies have been paying men more than women and people of color, even though they have the same job, same experience, same background, and same performance, all due to the inequality that still exists in our world. A 2019 survey by Glassdoor shares that 42% of US employees have seen racism at work. And that another study has shown that every 3 in 5 minority employees have felt that people judge their ability to work based on their ethnicity. People marginalized in society believe that their value and success are determined by their work ethic, and that these ideas of being underrepresented is really what's causing them to have these feelings, but it's actually discrimination. These people are feeling these feelings of imposter syndrome when it's actually racial bias. I like to use this analogy of a mask. Imposter syndrome is masking discrimination, and instead blaming the individual for what they're feeling instead of the collective, the actions of others. So what? Why am I telling you all of this? The only way to really combat imposter syndrome is to talk about it. In fact, many of us have this pluralistic ignorance. It's mostly a fancy term for saying that we don't really feel that we doubt ourselves, and that we're the only people who doubt ourselves, and that other people don't think that way. But that's not the case, though. The only reason why this happens is because we're scared to be vulnerable. We're scared to be open about what we feel. And so these things like imposter syndrome plague our minds. I know, a lot of this is hard. What I'm throwing at you is really confusing. I've been trying to explain this to people I've known for months, and they don't really understand it, but I think I figured out the best way to summarize it. Imposter syndrome is an internal feeling within. It's your inner thinking, while discrimination is caused by the actions of others. Let's call it an external feeling. If an action is external or caused by the actions of others, it had to be taught at some point. We weren't taught with these ideas, and that's the problem. My middle school teacher once taught me that being a bystander is part of the problem. So in this instance, ignoring the racial and discriminative biases that exist in our world today is the same thing as being the people who actively perpetuate their ideals. I end my talk with this. Women and people deserve to live in a world unbiased to race and gender. People need to recognize the symptoms of discrimination and the difference between discrimination and imposter syndrome so that they can get the help that suits them. And I challenge you. I challenge you all to go look yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, and tell yourself that everything you have ever done was the result of your own hard work and nothing else. Thank you.